Hello and welcome to this next Devtoberfest session. My name is Florian Neukirch and I'm a product manager for SAP Business Data Cloud, mainly working on catalog topics, data products, and some other things around that. Today, I want to talk with you about SAP Data Products. I will explain you how you can handle them today, and I also will give you an outlook of what's in plan for tomorrow. So first of all, we will take a look at the question of what are data products actually? How is SAP defining them? What are the benefits that you as a customer can get out of that? Next question would be, which tooling does SAP provide to work with data products? And last but not least, we take a glimpse on the roadmap. So what's next? What can you expect also for the coming year? So when we at SAP talk about data products, we are well aware that we are not the ones inventing the new term. So this is something the industry is talking about a lot. Other vendors are using data products as well. It's a very common term, although it's relatively new. We at SAP, we always describe data products with these 4 points here. So first of all, a data product cannot contain theoretically every kind of data that you can imagine. So it can contain master and transactional objects. Of course, it can also contain analytical data sets, configuration data, and so on. And all of that semantically aligned to make sure that the data that comes out of these data products fits together and can be used in further use cases as well. One of the most important benefits a data product brings is that it's always well described. So when I'm a consumer of a data product, I can take a look at it and I exactly know what I can expect when I install it. So as a data producer, you need to make sure that you add, for example, a meaningful description. You add pictures to it. You can add documentation to a data product. You can add terms of use, defining in which context the data products can be used. You can also make sure that you add tags, terms, or KPIs that are included into that data product. All of that will make sure that your consumers know exactly what they get without the need to reach out to you again. So it's real. So this can achieve a real self-service approach. Of course, once I discovered or once I know what I get out of the data product, I want to install it. And with data products, getting the data is as easy as it can be because you don't need to establish connections or stuff like that. All of that is taken care by the for you by the system itself. So the data product contains the data, makes sure that when you install it, everything runs smoothly, and you can directly start building on the data without the need for time-intensive data integration tasks. Of course, you can consume these data products in a variety of systems. So you can, for example, onboard the data products into an SAP Datasphere tenant to further model on top of them. You can integrate them or use the data also in SAP Analytics Cloud to build dashboards on top of the data coming out of that. And of course, with our partners like SAP Databricks, um, we also provide the option to share data with partner tooling that are part of the Business Data Cloud ecosystem. In order to be able to actually use data products, of course, consumers need to discover this. And therefore, we already enhanced and will further enhance our included SAP Data Product Catalog, which is part of the standard capabilities that are coming with every Business Data Cloud tenant. But this catalog also is included in SAP Datasphere. It will be part of SAP Analytics Cloud in the future. And with that, we make sure that this data catalog is really the central place to find all relevant data products you might need for your use cases. When we at SAP talk about data products, most of the time we concentrate on this upper part here about the SAP managed data products. We at SAP, we started with the go live of Business Data Cloud to build these SAP managed data products, which are basically combining data coming from our LOB solutions, like for example S/4HANA PCE, SuccessFactors, Ariba, and so on, into so-called data products. So we bundled, for example, certain CDS views coming from S/4HANA PCE, which are used to get the data for a specific use case there. The same is happening for SuccessFactors, Ariba, and all the others. And with that, you get a pre-defined set of data directly coming from your SAP applications. And the cool thing is that we from SAP make sure that everything runs smoothly. So if there are updates, if there are news, this is all being automatically cared about by SAP, like you're used to it from our standard applications as well. Another big portion of the data products story is, of course, the custom managed part. And here we talk about data coming, for example, from your S/4HANA system, which is not PCE, from legacy systems like SAP ECC. We also know data products coming from your BW systems, or even data that resides in a third-party application that you want to bring into a data product to, at the end, combine it with the SAP managed portion. And this is where the magic happens. Everything comes together, the SAP managed part and the custom managed part, to create a real value out of it and to create a strong foundation of trusted data without the need to copy it from one system to the other, which can act as the foundation for example, intelligent applications, AI ML use cases, especially with SAP Databricks, or for your classic analytics use cases as well. Let's now jump into a quick demo in which I will show you how you can already today create your own custom data share data products with existing capabilities in the data sharing cockpit of SAP Datasphere. So I'm now logged into one of our SAP Datasphere tenants, which are part of SAP Business Data Cloud formation. So this is not a SAP Datasphere standalone tenant. Important to know, this functionality is only available if you're part of a BDC formation. So from here, I can directly jump to the data sharing cockpit. I already have prepared a data provider profile. When we go into the details, I can jump to the edit mode. And here you can see that it basically looks like a regular data provider, but we have now here a new option when it comes to the data provider / data product visibility, which is called formations. If I choose this, I also have to give it a namespace to make sure that the data products are unique per provider there. And once I have selected this option here, I can already create data share data products. Let's go back to the My Data Products part. Here I already have created some data products in advance, and I can simply create a new one, hitting the plus button. And for those of you that are used to the old experience, you can see that some things are changed already. So the first thing I need to do now is selecting the right artifact space. And the space selection gives me a list of all the SAP HANA Data Lake file spaces. So these are not regular SAP Datasphere memory spaces, which I have access to, like, for example, this BW4 space. After I have done this, I need to give the data product a business name. In this case, we can call it Devtober. It automatically populates the technical name as well. We give it a short description. Of course, as you learned in the beginning, this should contain a bit more than just this short sentence, but I will go through that now as this is just a small demo. You can upload files like documentations. You can upload sample data here. You can also give it some additional metadata information like the size of a data product. the data category, which is actually mandatory. You can define an industry, an SAP application. This data is used for the regional coverage. You can also give your own product ID to it, or upload even additional files here. One thing to notice is that automatically these details are populated for me. So for context, I cannot choose out of the context I may have created for other data providers, but this is automatically called formations, which means that the data product I create here is at the end posted to the formations, and with that to the unified customer landscape, or UCL, where it can be found and crawled by our catalog again. The data shipment type and the delivery mode are also pre-selected. So this is always data share technology, which we're using to ship the data. And yeah, once we go further down, we see that the pricing is always also for free. So there is no license key on top of that. I can add terms of use, additional data documentation, and at the end, I need to add the product artifacts. This gives me a list of all the data assets or local tables that are available within the space I selected at the beginning. And we can, for example, say, hey, in this case, I want to add sales data to my data product. Once this is done, it gives me all the elements that are part of the local table I just used. I can, of course, delete that or add additional product artifacts to that. But in this case, I simply want to save the changes. And after a while, the system took care for everything. So this is now my data product. I can take another look at the details. And as you can see, this is now still in draft mode. So what I have to do is now I have to list the data product, which makes it actually available in the UCL. Hit OK button. So this listing process can take some minutes as we are in the background creating a lot of stuff to make sure that the data product works as expected. One thing you have to be aware of is that even if the status showed listed, it might take several minutes until it's actually appearing in the catalog. This is because we are actually posting or pushing the data product to the unified customer landscape, or UCL, which is then being crawled by the catalog. So it can take some time until the next crawling happened for the data product to appear in the Datasphere and Business Data Cloud Cockpit catalog. As I have prepared this data product up front, I can directly jump to the SAP Business Data Cloud Cockpit, where I can go to the catalog and marketplace, where I can look for the data product I just created. And from this screen here, I can, for example, share it with other systems like SAP Data Products. So after this short demo, let's jump back to the slides. And as promised, I will give you now a bit more information about the Data Product Studio. So with this Data Product Studio, our ambition is to provide you with one central place to manage everything around data products. One of the major things that will change is that today, when you are creating a data product, this is often done as an afterthought. So you have, for example, onboarded some data already via a classical connection to SAP Datasphere. You created some views, some transformations, whatsoever on top of that data. And once you've finished with your data modeling, you want to share that data with, for example, a colleague, with another team, or wherever else in your organization. With the Data Product Studio, we want to turn it a bit around. So here we are foreseeing that as soon as there is an actual need for data, you will directly start a data product. And within that data product, you can do the sourcing step and the transformation step directly in the data product definition. So you don't have to model everything first in Datasphere, but you can directly go to the Data Product Studio, select the sources you need to combine, perform some transformations, and from there directly release it to the consumers that are in need of the data. An important aspect of that tooling is that we're here separating the design time from the runtime. So the Data Product Studio is a pure design time tooling, meaning it doesn't come with an own runtime, like for example, a HANA Cloud or DataSphere or whatsoever. So this tool lives in the BDC cockpit, meaning potentially you have access to all the systems that are part of your SAP Business Data Cloud ecosystem. And with that, you can also select the runtime according to your need. So if the data is, for example, residing in DataSphere, you would select the artifacts from that DataSphere tenant, and you would choose that very DataSphere tenant as the runtime to perform your actions in. On the other hand side, you can also use the Data Product Studio to, for example, work on SAP managed data products, which are based on a runtime we call Foundation Services. And yeah, in order to get your changes there live, you can leverage this Foundation Services as well as your new runtime, for example, for a derived data product. So with this tool, you have a great flexibility to create data products wherever in the runtime you actually need for that. Of course, with DataSphere and also back then with Data Warehouse Cloud, we always, our ambition was always to make it as easy as possible to create or to perform your data modeling. And we follow that same path also with the Data Product Studio. So we will make sure that this tool not only helps the power users to create data products, but also the business users should be enabled with tooling like you're used to, for example, from DataSphere. So we will also, besides the classical coding editors that you already know from DataSphere, we will also offer graphical toolings, like for example, we are doing in the graphical view builder in SAP DataSphere. So to make sure that every persona that potentially is interested in creating a data product is also capable to do that. As already mentioned several times, this Data Product Studio will be the single entry point, not only for the creation of new data products, but also for the configuration of data product. What that means, I explain in a second. And in the future, we also want to make sure that this is the place where you can get an understanding of where your data products are used. How much is consumed by that? How much memory does it need to consume a data product? Which resources are used when a data product is created and consumed? And all of that included in that single entry point. So I summarized the key facts here again on this slide here. So the Data Product Studio will be embedded in the Business Data Cloud cockpit. Important to emphasize again, this is a design time tooling and it's not bound to a specific runtime, for example, to SAP DataSphere, but it can run potentially on every runtime that is part of your Business Data Cloud ecosystem. We also will introduce on the governance side some clearly defined domain ownership, meaning that in the future you will be able to define clear teams in so-called domains that are responsible for the data product. And with that, you have a clear overview of who is owning the data product, who is allowed to perform what, on which systems, and so on. And with these domains, we are introducing a new central governance layer that will help you to better organize your organization there. I already touched based on the last point as well. Of course, we will provide pro-code and low-code tooling to make sure that we cater for every persona that might come in to work on and with data products there. The first main use case we want to enable is the so-called configuration of data products. When we talk about configuration, what we mean is that, for example, you want to customize SAP managed data products, for example, by adding new additional sources, because what we deliver as a standard is just not enough. So with this tool, you will be able to perform this task in a very easy way, because you simply need to take the SAP Managed Data Product, go into the edit mode, and you can add your stuff as you need it. Another point is, of course, the extension of SAP Managed Data Products. So here you can, for example, envision that you have created some custom data products that you want to use together with an SAP data product. So what you would do here is that you create a derived data product and combining the entities coming from the SAP managed portion with the portion that comes from the customer managed part. Another aspect we want to introduce, and there's a working title at the moment, which is called Data Product Templates. And here you can imagine that we at SAP, for example, when we talk about data products or SAP managed data products that are coming from an S/4HANA PCE system, we have a fairly good idea of how the CDS views are looking like, what data we can expect there, what are the data types, and so on. So we have the clear knowledge of what's going on in the customer systems. For some other systems, like for example, legacy systems like ECC, there's much more customization in the mix. Still, we want to make sure that you as a customer can at the end leverage the data coming out of that systems also in an SAP managed fashion. That means that we will deliver so-called data product templates, which are acting as kind of interfaces where we from SAP define the data product entities that we need in order to build, for example, intelligent applications on top of these data products. And you, as a customer, you can bring in your own sources there, maybe perform some transformation to make sure that the data you bring in exactly matches to the entities we need to further process the data. One of the key aspects for the Data Product Studio is, of course, the ability to create your own custom data products. The first use case, and I touched already based on that in the beginning, is that we want to allow you to lift and shift your existing investments. And here, for example, classical use case is to bring your BW data, for example, from your info providers to the new world with SAP DataSphere, and you can leverage data products to do that. But of course, you might also want to get data from other LOB applications where we don't have SAP managed standard data products available. Or you want to bring in the things you modeled in DataSphere and you want to create a data product on top of that. Or you even want to bring external data in, all via data products. All of that will be possible. And speaking about third-party data, of course, our ambition is that in the future you will be able to combine data coming from from the SAP ecosystem with data that maybe sits in a third-party solution, and all of that can be done directly within data products. All the data products you created can be shared with our so-called open data ecosystem. When we went live with SAP Business Data Cloud, we started with SAP Databricks. Many more partners are in the mix there. So make sure to keep an eye on that. So we have many partners in the pipeline there. And via this open data ecosystem, it is as easy as it can be to exchange data also with third-party vendors, like for example Databricks. An important aspect is, of course, the management of data products. So here I already shared with you that we will introduce a clear governance concept around domain, where we will define who's owning the data product at the end of the day. In addition to that, we will also introduce a predefined access workflow where consumers can request access to a certain data product. And these access requests then get sent to the domains that are owning the data products, and they can decide if they want to provide the access or not. Much more details on that about to come. You can also take a look at at our roadmap for the catalog to get more details on these aspects. To make sure that your consumers or that the consumer of a data product can trust in the data that is coming from a data product, we will introduce a robust data product version management. So to be specific, we will introduce semantic versioning for data products. And so the consumer can decide if he or she wants to get on a new version once this is available. But they can also decide to stay a little bit longer on the older version, for example. So we will make sure that that you have always several versions in parallel there, and we are not breaking anything by forced updates or stuff like that. Um, but you can trust that the foundation you built on or the version you've built on is stable and it doesn't get deleted or updated automatically. And in general, with our tooling, we want to make sure that you as a user are in full control of the whole data product lifecycle, from creating a new version, testing it maybe in one of your development systems, up to publishing it to your consumers, but also then the whole retirement workflow. So what happens when a version is no longer valid? How can you retire that? And at the end of the day, delete that data product version without disrupting your consumers there. All of that we will handle with this data product studio. So what are now the key takeaways out of this session? First of all, you should have learned that data products are playing a central role in SAP's strategy, not only for SAP Business Data Cloud, but also for all the LOB solutions that are currently creating out-of-the-box SAP managed data products. At the same time, we at SAP provide you with a mix of these pre-created managed SAP data products that bring you instant value to your organization, with a mix of features that enable you to add your own custom building to make sure that you have the holistic picture of your whole organizations within that new data product architecture. At the same time, we are currently working on the Data Product Studio that will be the central feature to manage your data products in the near future, more precisely beginning of next year. And with that, I want to thank you all for your attention. Thanks for attending this session here. If you want to have more information about data products and how we are handling them, I would recommend you to visit our DataSphere Tech Ed session, DA100, where we will give you further information on that topic. With that, all the best to you and hear you soon.